Good morning, everyone. I am in Albuquerque and we are grounded for another day. My friend Sandra is here and we're getting ready to drive back to Oregon, but we've got 50-mile-an-hour winds and I am not going to drive a 14-foot fifth wheel in 50-mile-an-hour winds down the freeway. I'm just not going to. So we've decided to park for the day. I've had a couple questions recently on Facebook, and so I thought it'd be a good time to make a quick video and address a few questions. My first video is going to be for Jane Sanguinetti from California. She was asking, what do I put in my travel pack? So I've got things scattered out around here, and I'm going to show you a little bit about what I put in my travel pack. So grab your tea. Let's have tea and talk about journal packs. So I have just a regular backpack that I keep all my journal stuff in, ready to go, ready to grab as I walk out the door. And in this pack, I can actually divide it into smaller sections. I have a little pencil purse that I picked up probably at Joann's or someplace like that. And I can actually grab this pencil purse and my journal and take off for the day and have a full day of journaling. So in here, I have a paper towel, Neocolor IIs, I'll talk about those in a minute, my infamous Altoid box, and an assortment of pens and pencils and other fun things. Way too many microns, by the way. So let's start with microns. My favorite micron is the 08 black. That's the 5. It comes in brown and other colors as well, reds, blues, greens, etc. But my favorite is the 8. The thing about the 8 is it's thick enough so that when I photograph my journals for reproduction, you can see the lines. So I often use the micron 8. The microns are wonderful because they are waterproof. So once I draw in my journal, I can come back over the drawing with a little watercolor and it stays put. It doesn't smear. Unless it's still wet, then it will smear a little bit. So there's a small part of time that you can actually grab your brush and soften the edges of those lines if you want to. I've used microns forever. One thing about microns, though, if you fly in an airplane, put them in a baggie and seal it, because sometimes going up and down in an airplane, they have a tendency to leak. So I have lots of microns of various sizes, colors, shapes. They come in brush, they come in chisel, they come in tiny lines. 001, I think, is the smallest one, which is very fine. I started using these when I was doing graphics and illustration. So I've been using these for a long time. The other pen that I really like is, this is a Sumi-e pen. I got these from Annette Wagner when I learned Sumi-e from her. They are also waterproof. They're more a brush than a pointed pen. Really fun. These also are waterproof as long as they're dry. There is a timeline there that you can wet them and move them around and soften lines as well. I've got a couple of those. One has a little scraggier brush. I've been using it for a while, and the other's a little more solid. These have a cartridge you can refill, so these are real nice. The microns you just have to throw away and get a new one. But I do like these quite a bit. Regular Sharpie, can't do without those. I've got 3 or 4 different pencils here that I use. Some of them are drawing pencils, some of them are number 2s. So be sure you have at least one pencil in your bag. Oh, this is a favorite. This is actually a graphite pencil. There's no wood in this. It's totally graphite. I love these. Problem with these is if you drop them, they shatter. So let's be sure that one does not roll off the table. A red pen, because everybody who does red thread needs a red pen. Now, this is a gel pen. It's white. Oftentimes when you're working in watercolor, you have to reserve the white of the paper or use white paint, which I have found not very successful. So I grab one of these. It's Signos, And if I want to do thin lines, I use this. It's perfect for going over your watercolors at the very end with this little pen and adding some. Here's a cactus I did, and I used the little white pen for the prickles because I didn't add them earlier. Show you. This is my favorite pen. It's a water brush, actually. This end is a water reservoir. You can fill it with water, and the thing I love about this is I don't have to take water with me. If I grab my little pencil bag, I can just grab it and go because I don't need any water. This has water in the handle. You give it a squeeze, and as you can see, the water drops on my hand, and you're ready to activate your paint and start painting. These are fabulous. I've got several of them. This one's my favorite. It's got a big reservoir, a nice point. I've had it for a while. So I love water brushes. This is a masking pen. I've got mixed feelings about this. You give it a good shake, make sure it's all mixed up in the handle there. And this has a point on it that you depress the point, whoops, and sometimes it pops clear out. I think this one is on its way out, speaking of out. And then you can take and write on your paper, and the blue will mask the white of your paper, so you can paint over it and still have the blue area. I don't use this very often. I usually paint around any white areas that I want, but every now and then this is pretty handy, like I say. And on these cute little cactuses, I actually used that blue Masket pen for the pokers. So, my favorite Altoid tin. I have several of these as well in a lot of different kits and cases. I have a little water sponge in there, a little makeup sponge. This is a kneadable eraser. If you're not familiar with this, it's a little gray eraser, and as it gets full of graphite, you can just pull it apart and knead it, and that graphite disappears. The other thing I like about these is if you have a little area you want to erase, you can make it into a little point and actually erase with just one tiny area. I've gotten a few of these from my father that have lasted for years and years and years. So these will last you a while. No need to buy a bunch of these. Maybe one or two, one for each box that you're assembling. These are great. A white vinyl eraser. I like the white ones better than the pink ones. I found sometimes the pink ones will leave pink on your paper. Ask me about my pink elk story someday. So I like the white vinyl erasers. This is called a rubber pickup, and what it does is once you're done with your painting, after you use the blue Masket or whatever color, there's several different colors and brands of Masket, you take it, and when you're done with your painting, you erase, you pull the Masket off with this, and it reveals the white of your paper. This is just indispensable. You can also use masking tape to pull that mask off, but I really like this. It doesn't tear the paper, and it doesn't affect the paint any. And of course, I always need my trusty pencil sharpener. So all these little goodies go in this little Altoid box and into my pencil bag. So let me replace some of this and get it out of the way. Like I say, I can grab this little bag and a journal and I'm ready to go. If I want to just pop all this into my purse and spend an afternoon with the girls in the cafe or whatever, great thing. Now, colors. When I have this, I love my Neocolor IIs. I've talked a lot about Neocolor IIs in my videos. If you want a little bit more specific about using these, look for my Magpie video that I did when I was in Denver. I used Neocolor IIs extensively in that video, and that'll give you a good idea of how to use them. I have assembled a small group of these in the colors that I'm using here in the desert. I have a whole box of these which is put away right now. They probably come in 50 different colors. You can get them individually through maryartist.com, or you can get them in the box. I love these. These are actually a watercolor crayon that is water soluble. So if you watch my videos, you'll see that I just paint right on the tip of the crayon and go to my paper and I'm ready to go. So this is a nice way to carry your pigments around. I also use these on canvases sometimes. If I'm making a correction, I can take a couple and kind of decide what my correction needs to be. If I don't like it, I just grab a damp rag and wipe my canvas down again and try a different version of whatever I'm trying to change in my painting. I also will use these sometimes for my intention when I start a painting. So these are one of my favorite toys. Neocolor 2s. Again, be sure and get the Neocolor 2 because the ones are not water soluble. So that's my little pencil bag that I throw in my purse if I want to just go out for a short day. Now, if I want to actually spend some time in the field, I also have some regular watercolor supplies. This is a palette I got years ago, probably 20, maybe more years ago, that I love. And you can get the little travel boxes that have the pan paints, the little paints already in them. Those are great. There's several different brands. Those are fine, they work, but the thing I love about this is I can put in my favorite colors. I can use my tube paints and just squeeze them in there, and I can get whatever variety I want. I like this because there's a lot of mixing room, and the little thumb hold, if I'm standing at an easel, I can just keep going and grab a hold of this and still have room to mix. So I love these. The ones I find now are a little bit bigger. Same kind of idea, but I really like this one. It's nice and flat. It folds up, and I can put it in I put it in a plastic bag because when it's really wet, it gets juicy. So I put it in my backpack. I have a little sponge that I use sometimes to clean my palette off or hit my brush with or whatever. The other thing I have is a pencil box that I put some sponges in to hold my brushes still. I'm finding, though, I have one brush that I use all the time. It is this little 3/8 inch Simply Simmons sword brush. I really like this one. It's inexpensive. I think it's like $3 through maryartist.com, and they're practically indestructible. I have a whole set of these that I use for student brushes of various sizes, and some of them I've had for 15 years that I've used for student brushes. They wash really well, they shape again. I let kids use them and they don't destroy them. So I really like these. They're inexpensive and really fabulous. So if I were to lose this or ruin it in my bottom of my pack, I wouldn't be heartbroken. It's just $3. They do come in several sizes. Here's a 1/2 inch sword. I do like the 3/8. It's my favorite. You can make nice thin lines, you can make fat lines, you can do impressions. I have several videos that I'm using this brush in as well. So take a peek at some of my other videos for some uses of some of these tools. But this is my collection of brushes that I've had in my pack for a while. Again, this is the one I'm using. Unless I need a big brush or something in particular, this is my favorite. So if you just want to get one brush, I would say this one. Again, I'm plugging maryartist.com. So I throw that along with my pencil bag into my backpack. And I have 2 journals that I love. Oh, one more thing. When I'm using my palette, my big palette, that's a little palette. My regular watercolor one is real big. But when I'm using this palette, you need a water source. I have a little squirt bottle full of water that I use. A lot of times I'll just open it up and pour it into my yogurt container that I take. Have some paper towels in there. And this will get me for a good day of painting if I'm gentle with my water. This also gives me the opportunity to spray my palette down to activate my paints and also my paper or whatever else I might need to get wet. So I really love having that squirt bottle full of water. Be sure and fill all your water before you head out. I really like having all that with me. So I have 2 journals that I'm working in right now. This one is a Moleskine journal. Again, I got it at Mary Artist. This is called a landscape because it's long and skinny. I've been working in this one. Let's see what the first date is. Since January, February, March, April, May, when I still was in McMinnville. This is my backyard. You can see I've drawn a micron in there, done some pen work, and then added my watercolor. I like this book because it gives me an opportunity to do different shapes. So here I went landscape, and here I went tall and skinny. So there's lots of options for this book. This paper's pretty good. It doesn't lift very well, and it doesn't act like the Arches paper I'm used to, but it's great for a journal page. So this is one that I really have enjoyed. Here's a page that I drew the pencil on, and I haven't bothered painting yet, but I've had a lot of fun in this book, and I like it because it's got elastic. I often carry those bull clips and clip my pages because you're in the field and the wind blows and it blows your book closed. That's not very happy. So grab a couple of those big fat paper clips to take with you too. Here's my other journal I'm working in. It is an Aquabee Super Deluxe Sketchbook. It has 93-pound heavyweight sketch paper in it, spiral bound. I like this one. I like the paper in this one. Good for sketching, good for painting, good for ink. It lifts pretty well. It's a good all-around sketchbook journal. So when you're working in your sketchbook journals, things don't have to be perfect. They can be messy. The thing about it is recording your time, whether you're in your garden, whether you're in the field, out in nature, whether you're traveling, whatever you're doing, it's about recording your time out there. Doing the sketches, having fun. Here I had that palette that I showed you, and I was marking what colors I had in there and what colors I wanted to add. So a lot of different ways to use these sketchbooks. Be sure and write notes and date it, and oftentimes I'll put the place where I am. So the other thing I've begun doing is, here's my water brush, is putting stickers and collectible things as I travel on my pages. It's fun to use those, and in addition to whatever you're drawing or painting as you work. Here's a page that's a story. It's just writing. So there's no right or wrong in these journal pages. It's just whatever you want to do. Here's a page that I've started collecting stickers on. Camp receipts, things like that. And I just really enjoy this journal. The one thing I was talking about collecting stickers as you go. When I was in Yellowstone, I got a couple stickers. Often state, federal parks will have stamps for the kids to put in a passport. I started collecting those and putting them into my journal. So that's another option. Whatever you can collect and glue in that's flat, that really makes those memories come to life for you when you look 3, 4, 5, 10 years later. And even for your kids, if you're traveling with children, they can look back on that journey and look in the book and remember where you went and did. Here's the page that I did with the Neocolors about the magpies. So be sure and look for that on my YouTube. Again, I did quite a demo with the Neocolors on this page. So experiment, play, have fun, and most of all, keep your brushes wet. So Sepha Nesbitt from Traveling Brushes, giving you a couple tugs on the red thread today and wishing you a happy, happy day and fun with your brushes.